The part you need to fix your truck does not exist anymore. Not because it was never made, not because it was rare, because the manufacturer stopped producing it, the dealer stopped stocking it, and the salvage yards have been picked clean for years. And now you are sitting in a shop with a truck that runs fine, has a solid frame, has low miles on the engine, and one plastic bracket or one discontinued sensor housing is the difference between putting it back on the road and watching it get crushed. That is not an accident. That is a business model. And 3D printing just became the most dangerous tool in America for every automaker and dealer group that profits from that business model. Here's what you need to understand. When a manufacturer discontinues a platform, the parts do not disappear all at once. It's slow. First, the dealer stops ordering them. Then the regional distribution warehouses run dry. Then the third-party aftermarket dries up because the volume is not there to justify a new production run. And by the time you're at the back of a salvage yard pulling a truck apart, trying to find a specific vacuum line bracket or a throttle position sensor retainer clip that costs $4 to make and $200 to source, you realize the truck is not the problem. The supply chain is the weapon. Mechanics have known this for years. Older Ford F-250s with the 7.3 Power Stroke, GM trucks with the 6.5 diesel, Dodge Rams with the first-gen Cummins. These trucks were built to last 30 years, but the supply chain for them was quietly starved out. Not overnight, slowly, gradually. Enough that a truck with a good engine and a solid axle starts to look unfixable on paper because a single, no longer available part is blocking a repair that any competent shop could handle in an afternoon if the part existed. And it's not just old trucks. This is accelerating. The life cycle of modern platforms is shrinking. Manufacturers are refreshing model years faster, changing platforms more often, and sunsetting part support earlier than they used to. What used to be a 15 to 20-year parts availability window is quietly contracting because the faster the parts disappear, the faster you're back at the dealership looking at a new truck with a payment book. Now enter the desktop 3D printer. And I'm not talking about the toy printers people use to make figurines. I'm talking about industrial-grade fused deposition modeling and resin printing setups that hobbyists, independent shops, and small fabricators are now running. These machines can produce functional components in materials like PETG, ASA, nylon, and even carbon fiber reinforced filaments that can handle underhood temperatures, UV exposure, and mechanical stress loads that would have seemed impossible from a desktop machine 5 years ago. A mechanic in a small town in Oklahoma does not need a parts warehouse anymore. He needs a calibrated file and the right material. A bracket that holds a coolant overflow bottle on a mid-2000s GM T800 platform, a cracked sensor housing on an older transfer case, a broken vacuum port on an intake manifold that nobody makes anymore, a clip that holds a wiring harness away from an exhaust pipe that was discontinued because the platform was refreshed in 2009 and nobody thought anyone would still be driving these trucks in 2024. These are not safety-critical structural parts. They are small, specific components that are the difference between a truck going back to work and a truck sitting on blocks. And the files are spreading. Open-source repositories like Printables and Thingiverse already have thousands of automotive parts filed by regular owners and shade tree mechanics who reverse-engineered something that broke and uploaded it for free. The community is building a parallel parts network that does not require a manufacturer, a dealer, a distributor, or a purchase order. That is the part that makes the industry nervous, because here's what they don't want you thinking about. If a community of owners can reproduce discontinued components at home for the cost of a spool of filament, then the planned obsolescence model has a crack in it. If a diesel mechanic can print an exhaust gas recirculation delete plate housing, a sensor port cap, a specific bracket, a retainer, a clip, or a non-structural cover, then every truck that was supposed to die because of a parts shortage gets a second life. That's lost revenue. That's lost new truck sales. That's lost service revenue, and they're aware of it. The dealership will tell you the part is unavailable and the repair is feasible. What they won't tell you is that the repair is feasible if you stop relying on them for the part. The system is designed to funnel you back to a purchase decision. A truck with a dead emission sensor on a diesel exhaust fluid system that throws a fault code, puts it in limp mode, and can't be cleared without a dealer scan tool and a replacement part that costs $400 and has a 6-week back order is not a broken truck. It's a truck being held hostage by a system designed to make ownership painful enough that you give up. 3D printing is one of the tools that breaks that hostage situation. And the older the truck, the more powerful this becomes. A 1998 Dodge Ram with a 12-valve Cummins and a mechanical injection pump has no computer that can lock it out, no software that can disable it, no subscription feature that can be revoked. The only thing that can stop that truck is a broken physical part. And if that part can now be fabricated on a print bed at 2 in the morning in a shop in rural Texas, that truck just became nearly unkillable. That's not hyperbole, that's math. Now, there are real limits. Nobody's printing engine blocks. Nobody's printing load-bearing suspension components for daily highway use. Brake hardware, wheel hubs, axle shafts, anything in the drivetrain that carries real dynamic load, that is not the application here. The application is every non-structural, non-safety critical component that manufacturers stop supporting the minute a platform becomes unprofitable for them to maintain. And that category is enormous. The number of trucks sitting in driveways and storage yards right now because of a single unavailable non-structural part is staggering. What's happening right now is the beginning of something. Independent shops are starting to build their own libraries. Owners are learning to model simple parts. The quality of consumer-grade printing hardware is advancing faster than most people realize, and the material science behind automotive-grade printable filaments is moving quickly. This is not a future conversation. This is already happening in garages across the country. The manufacturers built a system where they control the parts, they control the diagnostic tools, they control the software, and they control the repair timeline. 3D printing is not a perfect solution, but it's a crowbar in the door of that system. And for the honor of an older truck that still has a good frame and a good engine, and a manufacturer that has decided that truck is no longer worth supporting, a crowbar in the door is exactly what they need. Drop a comment below. What part on your truck has gone discontinued, back-ordered, or dealership only, and did you find a way around it? I want to know what's actually happening out there in the real world. If you believe in keeping your truck alive on your terms and not the manufacturer's schedule, subscribe. We cover everything they would rather you not figure out.